The last objective is transmittable characters that are transmitted from parents to offspring. Characters that are transmittable that can be transferred from parents to offspring. Okay, basically I'm going to be looking at those transmittable characters in human being and other animals. I'm going to start with the first heights. Example, heights can be inheritable, like tall, or dwarfism. But one thing you must know about dwarf gene is that they are controlled by a recessive character. And that means that if two individuals, one tall, one dwarf, are allowed to mate, that means the dominant character will predominate and then the offspring will come out all tall. But the fact remains that tall is one character that can be passed on from parents to the offspring. The next transmittable character is color. Yes, color. This color can be color of skin. There are some that have dark skin, some fair skin, and some albino type or albinism. So it is transmittable. Color of the skin or color of the eye. There are some that their iris does not appear black. Some have blue eye, brown eye, ranging from this color. It depends. So it's transmittable. Color of the skin, color of the eye, even color of the hair is also transmittable. So we look at other transmittable character. We also look at blood grouping. Blood grouping is transmittable. There are 4 main types of blood group. You should know 4 main types of blood group. We have A, we have B, we have AB, we have O. These are the 4 main blood groups. Maybe in my subsequent class lesson, I'll be telling you how these blood groups are transmittable. Supposing if I'm AB blood group and I marry a woman of blood group O, it is not possible for offspring from that cross to be O blood group. So that means that a marriage where a man is AB or a woman is AB and the other partner is O, they cannot give birth to offspring who blood group is O. Maybe in my next class I should be telling you why blood group O should not appear in the immediate generation, because O blood groups are said to be recessive. So that means in the presence of a dominant character, they are masked, they are oppressed, they are not allowed to be expressed. That's why they are recessive. Any other blood groups here are dominant. A is dominant, B is dominant, AB is codominant, O is recessive. So this is also an inheritance. So blood group A is transmittable. Blood groups are transmittable character. And then we look at sickle cell anemia. Sickle cell anemia is also transmittable character. If I do not have a gene for a trait for a sickle gene, and I marry a woman who also do not have gene for sickle cell, it is not possible for one or two of our offspring to have sickle gene, because it's not in the gene. So it is not possible. Okay? Or you don't expect to couple who were both carrier of sickle gene not to give birth to a sickle cell child. The chance that they will give birth to a sickle cell child is even high if they should allow to marry. So that is what it is. So sickle cell trait is a transmittable, just like sex-linked traits is also transmittable. There are 3 types of sex-linked trait or sex linkage. 3 types of sex linkage. One is hemophilia. Hemophilia is the inability for blood to clot when there is a slight cut in the skin. the person bleeds so excessively without control due to person lacks some of the clotting factors. It's transmittable if I cannot clot blood. That means it is possible that I can transmit that to any of my offspring, basically daughters. The fathers transmit hemophilia disease to their daughters, while the mothers transmit theirs to their sons, and they can equally transmit to their daughters. Maybe in my subsequent class I should be able to explain that under applications of genetics, talk more about this hemophilia, which we refer to as blood disease or bleeder's disease. People who suffer from this bleed so much, bleed excessively, and it can be transmitted from parent to offspring. We also have another sex-linked trait which is also transmittable, which is color blindness. People that find it difficult to distinguish colors because they lack one of the color pigment in their photosensitive cells, like the cones that interprets colors. These people are not able to distinguish colors. And if I cannot distinguish colors, that means I have a trait. That means this trait can be transmitted from one generation to the other. The last but not the least aspect of sex-linked traits is baldness. Baldness. The issue of baldness has to do with hair, bald hair. People that do have bald hair is also transmittable. It's genetic. It can go on and on from one generation to another. So what we describe these three traits, sex-linked traits, as sex-linked is because the three of them are located on the X chromosome. That is why they are said to be sex-linked. The two sexes, normal sexes we have in human is XX and XY. So these three genes are located on the X chromosome. So therefore, they are said to be what? Sex-linked. Sex-linked because this is XX sex chromosome for female. This is XY sex chromosome for male. So the sex-linked traits are not found on the Y chromosome. They are only found either in these two X chromosomes or one chromosome in man. So that is on that note. It is transmittable. It passed on from parent to offspring, which can go on from one generation to another. So we also have so many traits that are transmittable, like ability to taste or ability to roll the tongue. Not so many people can roll their tongue. Some are tongue rollers, some are non-tongue rollers. I use myself an example. There's nothing I can do to roll my tongue. I cannot roll tongue. Okay? I can't roll tongue. Maybe you can pause the video and try and see if you are categories of people that can roll their tongue. If you cannot roll your tongue, you don't have problem. It's not a disease. But if you can roll your tongue, it's not also a problem. It's not also a disease. It means that you have the gene that is capable to control tongue rolling. So if you belong to categories of people that can roll their tongue, you bring out your tongue, your tongue flapped into two. It means that you have a dominant character which controls that tongue rolling. I can place you on the allele of TT. That is those that are able to roll their tongue. But those that cannot roll their tongue, no matter how they try to do they can't roll tongue. They belong to the categories of character that are being controlled by recessive trait. Recessive. So I'm going to use the letter lowercase to contrast that gene. So this who can roll tongue, some people who cannot roll tongue. Remember that the issue I explained in the terms we use in genetics. Well, we have uppercase or capital letters. Capital letters we use to describe or ascribe, subscribe genes that are dominant. Or we use lowercase or small letters for recessive character. So if I can roll tongue, for example, if I can roll tongue and I marry a woman who cannot roll tongue, or a couple who can roll tongue and a couple who cannot roll tongue, what is the possibility that they can give birth to offspring that can roll tongue? The possibility that this couple here, this parent and this parent can give birth to offspring that can roll tongue is 100%. What is 100%? Because since this is dominant, every outcome here will appear to be these heterozygotes. And since I explained that since you use any capital uppercase letter described by the gene's dominance, lowercase describes the gene's recessive. So once there is a combination of recessive and dominant character, the dominant character will take precedence, will take control of the physical appearance. So this individual now will be a tongue roller. Remember, this is a cross between a tongue roller and then non-tongue roller. Who is this offspring? This offspring is a tongue roller because this is dominant. It will mask the recessive traits and will not allow it to express itself. So it is possible for a couple who one is can be able to roll tongue and then the other cannot roll tongue. It is possible that all of their offspring can roll tongue. It is very possible because of what I just explained now. The issue of dominance and the issue of recessive. But what will also be interesting to know in this video, as far as this is concerned, is that it is also possible for both parents who can roll tongue, can still give birth to offspring or progenies who cannot roll tongue. In fact, the probability that two couples who can roll their tongue giving birth to offspring who can roll their tongue is even 100%. Supposing I can, for those couples who can roll tongue giving birth to offspring who cannot roll tongue, means that both parents have the genotypical ratio for tongue rolling is impure. That means what they have is this form of gene. So if I can roll tongue with this gene, and I marry a woman who can also roll tongue with this gene, it is possible that 1, 2, 3 out of the offspring will be non-tongue roller. It is possible that two parents that can roll their tongue can give birth. These two are tongue rollers, but this is non-tongue. It is very, very possible. But what is not possible is that if two parents cannot roll tongue and they give birth to a child who can roll tongue. The two parents cannot roll tongue. So it means if the two parents cannot roll tongue, that means their genes are this. That is if they cannot roll tongue. So it is not possible for one of the offspring to roll tongue. There is no way this can happen. But if it eventually happens, that means the paternity is not certain. There is an uncertainty. There is something to be explained in that genetic issue. It can become an issue that one had to go for a convincing test to prove or disprove the paternity of the child. Like I said, it is not possible for these two cross to produce offspring that will roll tongue, as they too can't roll tongue. But like I said earlier, two parents who can roll tongue can actually produce or give birth to one of the offspring, non being a tongue roller. So ability to roll tongue is also a transmittable character, basically human. Another second example here of transmittable character is ability to taste one chemical. There's one chemical, ability to taste BTC, bitter or tasteless. There are two categories of people here. People who can taste it. There are some people, to them this taste bitter. It's very bitter. They don't like to even the moment the chemical is dropped in their tongue, they seem to these receptor cells of the tongue stimulates, and then the bitter part of the tongue stimulates, and they perceive the taste to be bitter. There are some that this thing does not taste anything. So there are now two categories of individuals: people who can taste, people who cannot taste. So what it simply means that if I can taste this chemical bitter, it means that, and I marry a woman who can also taste it bitter, it's possible that all the offspring from our generation will all taste it bitter. Okay? So if I cannot taste it bitter, and I marry a woman who cannot also test beta, both of us are non-testers, and then I have one or two of my offspring who can test beta, that means there is a question mark to what that is. So that means paternity of that child is to be questioned, whether it is the father that is responsible for the child, whether the father will take responsibility of the child or not, because it is not possible if two non-testers marry and they give birth to offspring who can taste the chemical beta. If I can go on and on and on and explain so many examples of characters that are transmittable, just like ability to taste PTC, either bitter or tasteless. There are so many other examples that should be here. Like albinism is also a very important aspect of character that are transmittable in human. In the case of albinism, this albinism describes the absence of pigment. There is pigment layer that is not binded on the surface of the skin. So these people appear to have pinkish skin, and that leads to a condition of albinism. Yes, albino gene is transmittable. If I don't have albino traits, I marry a woman who does not have albino trait, it is not possible for generation of such to have anything to do with albino child. It is not possible. But like I said earlier, that it is also possible that two parents who are having normal skin, their skin are normal, there is a possibility that they can give birth to 1, 2, 3, or 4 albinos in one generation. It is possible. And that can only be possible if the two couples are carriers for albino gene. Once you are carrier for this trait, you cannot going to be, your skin cannot be albinic. It is not a case of albinism. Remember I told you earlier that albino is controlled by a recessive, should be small letter. Normal skin is this. So the moment this and this has shown up as genotype, the skin is normal. But the problem now is that this particular individual still carries that traits. But for the fact that these dominant characters are together paired with this will not express. But not when this parent now maybe marry another carrier. And maybe remember I told you that a recessive character can only express in homozygote. And if peradventure these two happens to have contact during random fertilization, of course, these two couple that their skins are normal, they have normal skin, it is possible they can produce an albino offspring. It's very possible. And it's also very possible that an albino can marry an individual with normal skin, pure breed normal skin, and may not be able to produce an albino in any kind of his generation, provided that he is pure dominant and married a recessive trait of albino. So these are characters. Intelligence is also part of characters that can be transmitted from parents to offspring. These are characters that are passed on from parents to offspring, and then from generation to generation. Some of them, maybe when we talk about variation, we look at these examples to which ones are continuous and those that are discontinuous variations, and with example.